Hello everyone, and welcome to the High Tech Yeti series on creating Dungeons & Dragons abilities in Minecraft. This is Fireball Part 2. At the end of Fireball Part 1, we created an icon that looked like a fireball, and when you right-clicked, it shot a fireball. And this is what we'll have at the end of Fireball Part 2. You'll right-click, but now it will charge a magic circle, drawing it, and when it's complete, if you let go, then it will fire the fireball. And just for fun, let's see what the fireball looks like when it will be fully completed. Hold down right click, draw a magic circle, it's all charged, you let go, and now it shoots a really nice looking fireball and creates a huge dome explosion dealing lots of damage. Really cool spell. Alright, so let's jump into drawing our magic circle. In the video description below, you'll see several different links to websites that we'll be using, including a link to this program called the Particle Converter. The particle converter takes a picture, breaks it up into pixels, and then turns those pixels into a set of coordinates that are used to place particles in Minecraft. Let's see it in action first. I click right here and I'm going to load my picture. I load my picture and click preview so I can see it. So first we're going to do our settings. We want to make sure that coordinate mode is in relative local. That way, when it places the image, in this case, the magic circle, it'll be placed relative to our character, not at specific world coordinates. We also want the magic circle to be standing on its side, so we do want the coordinate axis to be X, Y, which it is by default. And if you want, you could rotate the image, but I actually like the way it looks right now, so I'm going to leave it unrotated. When we do draw our magic circle, we're going to want it centered, looking directly in front of our player's eyes. And because of that, we're going to want to choose horizontal alignment center and vertical alignment center. We'll be using the dust particles. The dust particles allow you to adjust the size of dust all the way from 0.1 to 5.0. And in this case, I'm going to use 0.3. Next, we can adjust the density of the particles, so how close the particles are together. And I did some experimentation and found that I like 36. And when you do that, it automatically changes the size. In this case, my magic circle, when it's fully completed, will be 3.5 blocks by 3.5 blocks, which I think looks perfect. Then I'm going to open up more settings. And in here, we're going to leave the resolution on auto. We're also going to leave particle type as dust, although you could click right here and choose any of the available particles, such as flame. I'm going to leave display mode in force. What force does is it makes it so that if somebody has their particles set to minimal, they'll still be forced to see these particles. I want viewer as at A, so all players will see it, not just one player. And I'm going to adjust the color. And I'm going to choose cyan because I think cyan looks nice for when drawing the magic circle. And now the magic circle has been all set up. In export settings, you can choose a folder to export your new functions to. And I'm going to click export. And this is the folder where I've set my export settings to go to. And here's my new function. When I open up the function, you can see that Particle Converter has created 1,397 lines of code for us. In the latest update for 1.20.5, Minecraft did make a slight change to the way particles have to be created. And so I used the awesome website MC Stacker to find out what those changes are by having MC Stacker create me a similar line of code. And here's the fixed line of code, and luckily for us, the only part that changed is right here in the beginning, where you have to put color and scale inside of curly brackets. So I'm going to select this part and copy it, and I can delete this line. And then I'm going to select the same part that I want to change and press Ctrl H, and you can see that it's trying to find every copy of that line, and it automatically fills in the line that I copied in the replace location. Click replace all. Awesome. So now this function will work just fine. I'm going to click File, Save. Now that we fixed this function, I'm going to move it from this functions folder where it was created into the functions folder for our world in Minecraft. Alright, now we can try it out. Back in our Minecraft world, I'm going to do /reload to update our functions. And now that I've reloaded, I'm going to grab a command block. And in the command block, I'm going to run function and choose our alchemy mod function. And there's our magic circle. It looks quite nice. One helpful note is that when you export your function with Particle Converter, the name of the function will always be the name of the image that you uploaded. That'll come in handy a little bit later. However, right now it's just inside of a command block, and I want to see it right in front of my face. So first let's adjust this line a little bit. Instead of running the function on the command block, let's write execute as, and I'm going to just put my character's name in for now, and then at my character, at s, run the function. Okay, let's look at ourselves in a different perspective. And it is working, but it doesn't look very good yet. So let's adjust this command a little bit. I want to have it run the function 3 blocks in the direction that my character is looking. So right after at s, I'm going to use the positioned option. And then I'm going to use our magic up arrows. And if you remember, the third up arrow is the one that refers to the direction the player is looking. And so what this will do is it will run the function 3 blocks in the direction that my player is looking. All right, well, it is following my camera now, and it does seem to be working pretty well, but I really want it focused exactly at eye level. Luckily for us, Minecraft has a solution to that. After the positioned up arrows in 3, I'm going to press space again, and I'm going to choose the anchored option, and then anchor it to my eyes. Now that looks fantastic. Now the magic circle is anchored to my eyes, always 3 blocks forwards in the direction that I'm looking. So in our data pack, I've already created a folder called magic_circle. I'm going to drop our function into there first so we can see how that works. If we jump back in Minecraft for a moment and do /reload, and then go to the very end, you'll see that we have an option here, D&D, the name of our folder, / the name of our function. I want the magic circle to get drawn as I'm charging the fireball spell, which means I'm actually going to have about 60 different images that I'm looping through very quickly. Each of these images will be their own function, and I don't want to clutter up the main functions folder. So here's the image I have. How can I go about making it look like this image is getting drawn over time as I charge the fireball spell? It's actually pretty easy. In the description below, you'll see a link for GIMP. GIMP is the program that I use for all of my Photoshop work. It's just like Photoshop, but it's free. So I'm going to open this in GIMP. The way I simulated drawing the magic circle was actually erasing the magic circle a little bit at a time, and each time I erased a little bit of the magic circle, I saved it as a new image. So here's my completed image, and here's what it looks like as I erased it a little bit at a time. When you first start charging the fireball spell, we're going to start with the image that has the least amount of drawing there, and then play them in reverse. And this will make it look like it's drawing the magic circle. So I finished turning all of the images that I created into separate functions, and I numbered them 1 through 60. And lastly, at the very bottom, I have a completed version that I called cyan, and a completed version of the magic circle called orange. The moment after it finishes drawing the magic circle, I have the completed version of the function turn orange. That way the player gets a visual cue that the fireball spell is fully charged and ready to be released. Awesome! Now that I've completed all of those functions, I've moved them all into my magic circle folder, and if I go back into Minecraft and do /reload and then do /function, you can see that I have tons of new functions, and they're all inside the magic circle folder. Back in our data pack, let's open up handheld. We now want to make it so we have to charge the fireball spell. Let's just delete this then. And we're also going to temporarily put a comment, so a hashtag in front of execute. That way this line of code isn't being looked at anymore. Now we want to have our fireball spell get charged, which means that we need to keep track of how long we've been holding right click. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to write /scoreboard objectives add. And I'm going to call this variable casting, because this variable is going to keep track of if we're casting a spell. And then I'm going to choose a variable type dummy. Dummy just means that it's a variable that can be used for anything. Press enter. All right, so we've created the new variable casting. I'm going to do scoreboard, objectives, set display, sidebar, and I'm going to show our casting variable. Whenever you create dummy variables, if they're going to be used on players, it's a good idea to just set every player's score to 0 for that variable, at least once. So slash scoreboard players, set all players, casting to 0. Now I have 0 in casting, and I want this number to help me keep track of whether or not I'm currently holding right click. Back inside of our handheld function, I'm going to first remove the hashtag in front of the line that we just commented out. And instead of making it so that when I hold down right click, I run cast fireball, I'm going to make it so that whenever I hold down right click while holding my fireball 1 carrot and a stick, I'm going to run scoreboard players set and then at S, so this player, casting to 5. Now I'm going to go down here underneath our carrot getting set back to 0. And I'm going to say execute as any player whose scores equals casting equals 1 ... and carrot equals 0. Then at S run scoreboard players remove at S casting 1. So what this line is saying is that for any player who has a score of 1 or more in casting and currently has a score of carrot equals 0, then at that player I want to remove 1 from casting. If you remember, the carrot score automatically adds 1 whenever we press right click. However, our line right here is setting it back to 0 faster than Minecraft sets it back to 1. And let's see if that works. Slash reload. And now if I hold down right click, you can see that casting is constantly doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can detect when we're holding down right click, because whenever casting is 1 or more, that means we must be holding down right click. Now we want a variable that's going to allow us to progress through and keep track of how much time we've been holding down right click on our fireball. This variable will allow us to charge the fireball spell up. So we're going to do scoreboard objectives add, and I'm going to call this summon underscore fireball. And once again, it'll be a dummy variable. Well, now let's make sure this is actually working. So let's go back to our data pack. So this line right here no longer fires our fireball. It detects when we're holding down right click by setting casting to 5 every single tick it can. Next, we want to detect if we're still holding our fireball spell in our hand and casting is greater than 1. If it is, we want to start adding 1 every tick to our summoned fireball variable. And I'm lazy, I mean efficient, so I'm going to copy the entire command. And now I'll just make the changes we need in it. So instead of setting casting to 5, and instead of only looking for carrot to be 1 or more, I instead want to see if casting is 1 or more. And if it is, then I want to add 1. So instead of set, I'll do add at S summon fireball 1. So what this will do is as long as I'm still holding my fireball 1 fireball spell in my hand, and casting is 1 or more, meaning I'm holding down right click, then every tick I'll add 1 to the variable summon underscore fireball. Let's do file save, back to Minecraft, slash reload, and check it out. Awesome, it's working. Okay, but as you can see, the number got too big. So first, let's make it so we can cancel casting the fireball. And because this is doing something different than summoning it, I want to once again create one of these frames to keep my code nice and organized. And so this won't be summoning fireball, this will be cancel fireball. And in here, I want to say execute as any player whose scores equals, and then casting equals 0. So any player who's no longer holding down right click, at S run, scoreboard players set at S, so me, summon fireball 0. So what this will do is it'll say any player who's not currently casting a spell will automatically have summon fireball set to 0. But there's one problem with this. This command will be getting run over and over and over again, even when we're not using the Fireball spell. I don't like that. So I'm going to add one more stipulation here. After casting equals 0, I'm going to do comma, summon underscore fireball equals 1 ... So what this means is that now, if casting is ever 0, meaning I'm not holding right click, and summon fireball is bigger than 0, so 1 ... 1 or more, then it will set summon fireball back to 0, which means right after it does that, this command will stop running and we won't have any inefficient code. Do /reload. And there we go. Summon fireball is back to 0. Hold down right click, building up, let go, 0. Now we know that we have 62 different images. So I actually want to have summon fireball stop when it reaches 62, because that means the spell will be fully charged. So what I want to do is I want to add another condition here. Right after I say casting equals 1 or more, I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to say summon underscore fireball equals ... 61. So what this is saying is if casting equals 1 or more, so I'm holding down right click, and summon fireball equals ... 61. So summon fireball is less than or equal to 61. Only under these conditions will it actually add 1 to fireball. We're going to use the summon fireball numbers to decide which function, and therefore image, will be drawn in front of our face. And so there are going to be at least 62 lines of code. And because all 62 lines of code do practically the same thing, I'm going to create a new function for this. And I've already created the function, and I called it here summon underscore fireball. Let's open it up, and here we have a nice blank function. So I copied and pasted from handheld the first part of this code, which is just checking to see that we're currently holding the carrot and a stick that has custom data fireball 1, so our fireball spell. After this, we want to check and see what score we have. And so we're going to do scores equals summon fireball equals, and no ... this time, only when it equals exactly 1, and then close the square brackets. I'm going to say at s, and now I'm going to use our positioned and anchored eyes code. So I'm going to say positioned, and then use our 3 up arrows with a 3 on the end, and then anchored on the eyes, run function, and then in my case it's called D&D, and I have a folder called magic underscore circle, and then I called the image alchemy mod underscore 60. So in my case, 60 is the very last image, meaning the one that only has a tiny part of the magic circle there. As alchemy mod underscore gets closer to 1, it gets closer to being the complete image where I haven't erased as much yet. Awesome, so now I've finished making all these lines of code, and after it reaches 1, it goes to the fully drawn image, which I just called cyan to keep track of which one was which. And then at 62, when the image is fully charged and it's already done the complete drawing, it changes to orange, and then it stays orange until you release right click and actually fire the spell. And then back in our functions folder, let's open up core. At the moment, core is blank. I said in Fireball Part 1 that core would eventually be the only function that we're going to have to call. The reason for that is because we want to have core act as the brain that controls our functions. So far, we only have 2 functions that need to be getting run all the time. Function D&D handheld and summon underscore fireball. So we do /reload, and then we can go back into our command block and we can change D&D handheld to D&D core. And if we do /force load while looking at our command block, choose add, and choose this chunk, what that will do is it'll force load this chunk. And now, since we've force loaded this chunk, and inside of this repeating command block, we're running our core function, no matter how far away I fly, our spells will still work. And now let's try it out. Hold down right click. All right, our magic circle gets drawn. So now let's just make it so that once our magic circle is fully drawn and has turned orange, if we let go at that point, it will actually fire our fireball spell. All right, so back in our handheld function, I'm going to create a new area for launching the fireball. I want to run the cast fireball function only when casting equals 0, meaning that I've let go of right click, and summon fireball equals 62. Because if casting equals 0 and summon fireball equals 62, then that means I must have let go of right click after fully charging the fireball spell. So I'm going to say execute as any player whose scores equals casting equals 0 and summon fireball equals 62. Then at that player, so at s run function dnd cast underscore fireball. Perfect. Let's try it out. Reload. We're charging our fireball. Fully charged. Let go. All right. Our fireball spell works. We now can draw a magic circle. And when we fully draw the magic circle and our fireball spell is fully charged, then when we let go of right click, our fireball spell actually gets fired. Awesome. My plan is to do weekly updates from now on at Minecraft Monday Midnights. So Fireball Part 3 will be out next Monday at midnight. Thank you and have a great day.